to negotiate your surrender before the fight even starts, and if you allow fear to take control of your thoughts, you have already lost. You win by choosing discipline over comfort, by showing up on days when motivation is absent, and by doing the work when no applause is promised. Talent may give you confidence, but discipline gives you consistency, and consistency is what turns small daily actions into unstoppable momentum. Pain will come, losses will happen, and setbacks will test your resolve, but pain is not sent to destroy you. It is sent to shape you, strengthen you, and prepare you for the level you are trying to reach. The ones who rise are not those who avoid struggle, but those who convert every failure into fuel and every scar into wisdom. Focus becomes your shield in a world full of distractions, because when your energy is scattered, your power is wasted. Protect your vision, ignore the noise, and stay locked in on your purpose. And when the battle feels longest, when your strength feels gone and quitting feels justified, that is the moment that decides everything, because most victories are hidden behind the final round of effort. Stay in the fight, stand firm when it hurts, and refuse to quit when it gets uncomfortable. Do this consistently, and you won't just win battles, you will become the kind of person who cannot be defeated. Hawaii BTL ANY OUR Min FRST. Winning every battle in life always begins long before you step onto the battlefield, because the real fight is not outside of you, it is within you. And if you lose control of your mind, nothing you do with your hands, your words, or your talent will ever be enough to save you. The mind is the command center of every victory and every defeat, and what you repeatedly tell yourself quietly becomes the loudest voice guiding your actions. Before pressure shows up, before obstacles stand in your way, before critics open their mouths, your mind has already decided whether you are going to rise or retreat. That is why the strongest people are not those who never feel fear or doubt, but those who refuse to let fear drive their decisions. Your thoughts can either train you to fight or teach you to surrender, and every day you are rehearsing one of those outcomes whether you realize it or not. When you wake up and tell yourself that you are capable, prepared, and committed, you begin the day already standing taller. When you wake up feeding doubt, excuses, and negative assumptions, you walk into life already defeated. The world does not beat you nearly as often as your own thoughts do, and most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they talk themselves out of success before effort ever has a chance to work. You must understand that your mind will test you before life does. It will exaggerate risk, magnify fear, and minimize your strength. And if you believe everything you think, you will shrink when you are meant to expand. Winning the mental battle means training your thoughts with the same intensity you train your skills, because confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you build through repeated action, repeated courage, and repeated self-trust. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when it is hard, you send a message to your mind that you can be trusted, and trust in yourself is the foundation of unshakable confidence. The mind respects action more than promises, and it learns belief by watching you keep going when things get uncomfortable. You must also learn to control your inner dialogue, because the voice you listen to most is your own, and if that voice is constantly negative, fearful, or limiting, it will sabotage every opportunity placed in front of you. Speak to yourself with authority, not arrogance, with belief, not denial, reminding yourself that pressure does not mean you are unprepared, it means you are being called to rise. Mental toughness is not pretending everything is fine. It is staying focused and committed even when everything feels uncertain. You cannot allow temporary emotions to make permanent decisions, because feelings change but consequences remain. Fear will show up before every meaningful step forward. But fear is not a stop sign, it is a signal that growth is near, and the people who win consistently are those who move forward anyway. Winning in the mind also means learning how to stay calm under pressure, because panic clouds judgment and clarity creates power. When you breathe, slow down, and focus on what you can control, you take your power back from chaos. You do not need to control outcomes, opinions, or circumstances. You only need to control your effort, your attitude, and your response. That level of control gives you stability when everything else is shaking. The mind must also be trained to handle failure without breaking, because failure is not proof that you are incapable, it is proof that you are trying. Every setback is feedback, and every loss carries information that can sharpen you if you are willing to learn instead of complain. When you lose, you do not label yourself as a failure, you analyze, adjust, and advance. The moment you stop attaching your self-worth to single outcomes, you become dangerous, because now you are free to take risks, push limits, and fight without fear of embarrassment. Winning the mental battle means choosing discipline over mood, belief over comfort, and growth over ego. It means reminding yourself daily that the fight is not against other people, but against the version of you that wants to quit, settle, or stay safe. The strongest victories are built in silence, in the moments when no one is watching and no one is cheering, when you still choose to prepare to learn and to show up fully. When your mind is trained to stay focused, resilient, and committed, external battles become manageable, because you are no longer fighting yourself at the same time. Control your thoughts, master your emotions, trust your preparation, and refuse to surrender internally, because once you win the battle in your mind, every other battle becomes a test of endurance, not belief, and belief is what carries you through when strength alone is not enough. Di sci paliam beats to line everai time. Winning battles in life is rarely about how gifted you are, and almost always about how committed you choose to be, because talent without discipline is unreliable, inconsistent, and fragile under pressure, while discipline creates a foundation that does not crack when conditions become uncomfortable. Talent can make things look easy in the beginning, but when resistance shows up, when progress slows, and when effort stops producing instant results, discipline is the force that keeps you moving forward. Many people start strong because they are excited, confident, or naturally good at something, but battles are not won in the starting phase, they are won in the grind, and the grind does not care how talented you are, it only responds to how disciplined you are willing to be. Discipline is choosing structure over chaos, routine over randomness, and commitment over convenience, even on days when motivation is nowhere to be found. Motivation is emotional and temporary, but discipline is intentional and stable, and the people who rely on discipline instead of mood are the ones who outlast, outperform, and outgrow the rest. Discipline is showing up when it is boring, repeating the basics when you want to skip ahead, and doing the small, unglamorous tasks that compound into massive results over time. It is waking up early when sleep feels better, staying focused when distractions are everywhere, and saying no to short-term comfort so you can say yes to long-term success. Every time you follow your routine instead of your feelings, you strengthen your self-respect, and self-respect fuels consistency. The truth is, discipline is not about punishment, it is about alignment, about bringing your daily actions into agreement with your goals, values, and future vision. When your actions consistently reflect what you say you want, your confidence grows because you are no longer lying to yourself. Talent may get attention, but discipline earns trust, both from yourself and from others. In high-pressure moments, discipline takes over when talent freezes, because disciplined habits operate even when emotions are unstable. When stress hits, you do not rise to the level of your potential, you fall to the level of your training, and discipline is what builds that training day after day. The disciplined individual does not wait for perfect conditions, because discipline understands that perfection is an illusion and progress is built in imperfect moments. They work with what they have, where they are, and improve as they go. Discipline also teaches patience, because results do not arrive on your timeline. They arrive when the process has been respected long enough to produce them. This patience is what keeps you from quitting too early or chasing shortcuts that sabotage long-term growth. Shortcuts might offer speed, but they steal strength, and when a real battle shows up, only strength lasts. Discipline prepares you for resistance by exposing you to controlled discomfort regularly, making hard things feel normal and normal things feel easy. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes routine, and what once felt impossible becomes manageable. This is how discipline slowly shifts your identity, from someone who tries to someone who does. You stop negotiating with yourself, stop making excuses, and stop needing external validation to keep going. Discipline also creates momentum because consistency builds rhythm, and rhythm reduces friction. When actions become automatic, you conserve mental energy for strategy, creativity, and execution under pressure. The disciplined person does not depend on hype or applause. They depend on habits, and habits do not abandon you when things get quiet. Discipline is also what protects you from distraction, because when you know what you must do each day, you are less likely to be pulled off course by opinions, trends, or comparisons. You measure progress against your own standards, not someone else's highlight reel. This internal standard keeps you grounded and focused, even when progress feels slow. Winning battles requires staying in the fight longer than others are willing to, and discipline is what gives you that endurance. It keeps you moving when the excitement is gone, when results are delayed, and when quitting feels justified. Discipline is the quiet decision you make daily to honor your potential through action, not talk. Over time, discipline turns effort into excellence, consistency into confidence, and persistence into dominance. Talent might impress in moments, but discipline wins over lifetimes because when the pressure is heavy, the path is long, and the reward is delayed. Discipline is the force that carries you through, ensuring that when the battle is finally decided, you are still standing, still focused, and still moving forward. TR and Pi and INTO Pavar. Every meaningful battle in life comes with pain, and the difference between those who break and those who rise is not the absence of suffering, but the way they interpret and use it. Because pain is not sent to stop you, it is sent to shape you. Pain enters your life as resistance, disappointment, loss, failure, rejection, and exhaustion, and most people run from it, numb it, or curse it, never realizing that within pain lies the raw material for strength, wisdom, and transformation. When pain shows up, it feels personal, unfair, and overwhelming, but pain is not an enemy. It is a signal that you are stretching beyond your comfort zone, and growth only happens at the edge of what you can tolerate. Those who win consistently understand that comfort weakens while discomfort sharpens. And instead of asking why pain has arrived, they ask what it is demanding from them. Pain demands honesty because it strips away illusions and exposes what is real, what is working, and what is no longer sustainable. It forces you to confront your habits, your mindset, and your excuses. And although that confrontation is uncomfortable, it is necessary if you want to evolve. Pain also builds resilience because every time you endure something difficult without quitting, you expand your capacity to handle future challenges. What once felt unbearable becomes manageable, and what once broke you becomes part of your foundation. This is how pain turns into power, not by destroying you, but by toughening your inner structure. Loss teaches appreciation, failure teaches precision, rejection teaches self-reliance, and exhaustion teaches boundaries. And when you gather these lessons instead of resisting them, pain becomes education instead of punishment. The problem is not pain itself, but the meaning you assign to it, because when you label pain as proof that you are not good enough, you shrink. But when you label pain as proof that you are in the process of becoming better, you rise. The strongest individuals are not those with easy lives, but those who have been tested, stretched, and forced to rebuild themselves multiple times. Pain humbles the ego, reminding you that growth is earned, not given, and humility keeps you open to learning instead of trapped in pride. Turning pain into power also requires patience, because pain rarely delivers instant clarity. It often arrives as confusion before it becomes understanding. In the middle of struggle, you may not see the lesson, but if you stay committed and reflective, clarity will come. The key is not to rush the healing process or suppress the emotion, but to feel it without letting it define you. Pain must be processed, not avoided, because avoided pain becomes stored tension, and stored tension eventually becomes limitation. When you face pain directly, you reclaim control over it, and control is power. Pain also fuels empathy, because those who have suffered deeply understand others more fully, and this understanding strengthens leadership, communication, and influence. People who have endured pain carry a quiet authority, because they speak from experience, not theory. They do not overreact to adversity because they have been there before and they know that storms pass. Pain teaches you to stand alone when necessary, to trust yourself when support is absent, and to keep moving when validation is delayed. This self-reliance becomes one of your greatest strengths in battle because it allows you to operate independently of circumstances. Turning pain into power also means refusing to become bitter, because bitterness is pain that has been poisoned by resentment, and resentment drains energy that could be used for growth. Forgiveness, whether of others or yourself, is not weakness, it is a strategic decision to release the weight that slows you down. When you let go of resentment, you free your focus, and focus amplifies power. Pain also sharpens purpose, because struggle clarifies what truly matters and what does not. When everything is easy, priorities blur, but when things hurt, your values come into focus. You begin to understand what you are willing to fight for, sacrifice for, and endure for, and this clarity strengthens your resolve. Purpose gives pain meaning, and meaning transforms endurance into determination. The people who win battles do not seek pain, but they do not fear it either, because they know that every scar carries proof of survival and progress. They wear their scars as reminders of what they have overcome, not as excuses for why they cannot move forward. Pain becomes power when you stop asking it to leave and start asking it to teach. It becomes power when you use it as fuel instead of allowing it to become a cage. It becomes power when you rise from it with greater awareness, deeper discipline, and stronger faith in your ability to endure. In the end, pain does not define you, but how you respond to it does, and when you choose growth over self-pity, learning over resentment, and resilience over retreat, pain stops being a threat and starts becoming a weapon, sharpening you for every battle that lies ahead. Every battle you lose is rarely because you were incapable. It is because your attention was divided, your energy was scattered, and your focus was pulled away from what truly mattered. Because focus is not just a skill, it is a weapon, and in a world designed to constantly distract you, the ability to stay locked in has become a competitive advantage. Focus is the discipline of deciding what deserves your time and what does not, and most people struggle not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they allow too many voices, opinions, and temptations to interfere with their progress. When your focus is split, your power is weakened because energy flows where attention goes, and whatever you consistently pay attention to grows stronger, whether it is progress or procrastination. Distractions come in many forms: social noise, comparison, comfort, fear of missing out, and the constant urge to react instead of respond, and each distraction pulls you one step further away from mastery. The people who win consistently understand that saying yes to everything is the fastest way to achieve nothing, and they protect their focus as fiercely as they protect their reputation. Staying focused requires clarity of purpose, because when you know exactly what you are working toward, distractions lose their appeal. Unclear goals invite unnecessary detours, but clear intentions create boundaries that keep you on course. Focus is not about doing more, it is about doing less with greater intensity, because depth always outperforms breadth when it comes to meaningful results. When you commit to one direction and give it your full attention, your progress accelerates, not because the path is easier, but because your energy is no longer leaking in every direction. Focus also demands the courage to ignore opinions, because not everyone will understand your vision, and not everyone needs to. External validation is addictive, but reliance on it weakens self-trust, and self-trust is essential in battle. The more you chase approval, the more you dilute your effort, but when you focus on execution instead of applause, your results speak louder than words. Distractions also disguise themselves as productivity, making you feel busy without being effective, and business without progress is one of the most dangerous traps. True focus is measured by outcomes, not activity, and winning requires you to constantly ask yourself whether your actions are moving you closer to your goal or simply filling time. Focus sharpens decision-making, because when your priorities are clear, choices become simpler, and hesitation fades. You stop overthinking and start executing because you trust your direction. Staying focused also means managing your environment, because willpower alone is not enough to resist distraction indefinitely. The spaces you work in, the people you spend time with, and the information you consume all influence your attention, And if your environment is chaotic, your focus will be too. Winners design their environment to support their goals, reducing friction and eliminating unnecessary temptations. Focus also strengthens emotional control because when you are clear on your mission, setbacks feel less personal and criticism feels less threatening. You are less reactive because your identity is rooted in purpose, not in momentary outcomes. This emotional stability allows you to recover quickly and stay consistent even when things do not go as planned. Distraction, on the other hand, amplifies frustration because when your attention is scattered, small problems feel overwhelming and progress feels slow. Focus restores momentum by creating a sense of direction and progress, even in difficult phases. Staying focused also requires the willingness to be misunderstood, because deep focus often looks like isolation to those who are not committed to the same path. You may have to spend time alone, miss out on social moments, and delay gratification, but this sacrifice is temporary and the rewards are lasting. Focus is also what allows you to learn faster, because when your attention is undivided, you absorb information more deeply and apply it more effectively. This accelerates growth and builds competence, which fuels confidence. The more competent you become, the less distracted you are by doubt, because skill creates clarity. Focus is not about intensity all the time. It is about intentionality, knowing when to push and when to rest, because burnout is also a form of distraction that pulls you away from long-term success. Rest, when done intentionally, restores focus rather than weakening it. Winning battles requires sustained effort over time, and focus is what makes sustained effort possible. When you stay focused, you move with purpose, react with calm, and act with precision, and precision turns effort into results. Distractions may promise pleasure, comfort, or validation, but they always demand a price, and that price is progress. When you choose focus, you choose to invest your energy where it matters most, and over time, this disciplined attention compounds into mastery, momentum, and victories that cannot be ignored. Every battle has a moment where quitting feels reasonable, justified, and even smart, and that moment usually arrives right before the breakthrough, because the final round is not designed to test your strength. It is designed to test your character. This is the phase where fatigue speaks louder than faith, where progress feels invisible, and where the mind starts negotiating an exit by listing all the reasons why stopping would make sense. Most people do not lose because they are incapable. They lose because they stop too soon, misinterpreting temporary exhaustion as permanent limitation. The final round is where effort hurts the most because it demands everything you have left and then asks for more. But this is also where separation happens, because only those who are willing to endure discomfort without immediate reward stay standing. When you reach this point, you must understand that the pain you feel is not a signal to stop. It is proof that you are deep in the process, closer than you have ever been before. Fatigue distorts perception, making obstacles appear larger and progress appear smaller. And if you listen to your tired mind, it will convince you that nothing is changing, even when everything is about to. Winners learn to distrust the voice of exhaustion, because they know that clarity returns after rest, but quitting creates a permanent ending. The final round demands faith, not emotion, because emotions fluctuate under pressure, but faith is a decision to continue even when the evidence is unclear. This faith is not blind optimism. It is trust in the work you have already done, the discipline you have built, and the resilience you have proven in previous rounds. Never quitting in the final round also requires perspective, because when you are tired, you forget how far you have come and focus only on how far you have to go. Looking back at your progress reminds you that you are not starting from zero. You are standing on the results of countless efforts, sacrifices, and hard choices. This awareness reignites determination because it reframes the struggle as an investment rather than a punishment. The final round is also where excuses become loud, offering logical reasons to pause, delay, or walk away, but excuses do not disappear after quitting, they multiply, turning into regret, self-doubt, and lost confidence. Regret weighs more than effort ever will, because effort ends, but regret lingers. Those who quit teach themselves that escape is an option, making it easier to quit the next time pressure appears. but those who push through teach themselves that endurance is possible, strengthening their identity as someone who finishes what they start. Identity matters in battle because you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your self-image. And when you see yourself as someone who does not quit, your actions align with that belief. The final round also strips away ego because there is no room for pride when you are tired, only humility and resolve. You are no longer performing for recognition, you are fighting for integrity, for the promise you made to yourself when you began. This internal commitment is what carries you when external motivation fades. Never quitting does not mean ignoring your limits, it means respecting your purpose more than your discomfort. There is a difference between strategic rest and surrender, and winners know how to rest without retreating. They pause to recover, not to escape. The final round teaches patience, because outcomes often lag behind effort, and impatience tempts you to abandon the process prematurely. Trusting the process requires emotional maturity, because it means accepting that growth is happening even when you cannot measure it immediately. Never quitting also builds mental toughness, because each time you endure the final round, you expand your capacity for future challenges. What once felt unbearable becomes familiar, and familiarity reduces fear. This is how resilience compounds, turning temporary endurance into long-term strength. The final round is where stories are written, not because it looks impressive, but because it reveals who you are when comfort is gone. Long after the battle is over, you may forget the details of the struggle, but you will remember whether you stayed or quit, and that memory shapes how you approach every challenge that follows. Winning does not always mean immediate success, but it always means finishing with effort, dignity, and commitment intact. When you refuse to quit in the final round, you send a message to yourself that you are stronger than your circumstances, more disciplined than your emotions, and more committed than your fear. That message becomes a permanent part of your identity, and with that identity, you do not just win one battle, you build the mindset to win every battle that comes next.